Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Hey, how's it going? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great. Hold on a second. We got other music playing.
Are we just gonna
So,
play the
so we gonna play the record. No, I'm just kidding.
play the
Uh,
record?
oh no, somebody said there was no sound.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I couldn't hear it either.
Oh man, dang it. Okay, but y'all watched it though, so I appreciate y'all for watching.
Right, right.
But you know what though? Actually, you know what? Y'all have heard this song. Y'all have heard the song because I play it on the reels and anytime I'm promoting my book, y'all have heard this song. So you just don't recognize that was the video for it. So anyway, when y'all see my book promotions and stuff, you'll hear the song. You'll be like, oh, that's the song they was playing. It's called Back to Love. So tonight
Yeah.
we have Stephen Elder Anderson Day. Okay. Senior. Gotta say senior because there is a Stephen Jr. And so I'm just so happy and excited that you said yes, that you wanted to have this chat with me. So this is Fearless Conversations, y'all. Today's episode is Fearless Music. So this is a dear friend of mine, right? We have known each other for I don't know how long, Steve. How long has it been? See, and I call him Steve sometimes. His name is Stefan, okay? It's Stefan. And I have been calling him Steven for 30 years,
30 years, yes.
and he's never corrected me.
I hardly ever corrected anyone. So
So whose fault is that?
mine. I take ownership. That's what it is.
So okay, so listen, because it's not about me tonight, all right? It's not about me, but I do have questions. So just introduce yourself. Tell the people about you. Who is Stephen Anderson Day?
And I hate this part, but as she said, my name's Stephen Anderson Day. I'm born and raised in South Bend, Indiana. Uh, just grew up church boy. Baby of a posse. And I'm a father, grandfather, and I serve in ministry. That's pretty much the gist of my life. Um, as this is what I do. This is what I do: ministry. I'm into fitness. I'm a hairstylist, and I'm a preacher, singer, songwriter, producer. Do all those things. Um, and I think that was it. And of course, I'm friends with Dr. Prophet is right here. So,
Not Dr.
so
Prophet.
um,
Add comedian.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because everybody thought I was gonna be busting some jokes last night at the show, but that was funny. But,
Yes, so let's talk about that. So last night you went to it was a comedy show, not really a comedy show, it's more like a variety. Um,
variety show. Yeah.
yes. And so do you do those often?
Actually, normally I do do the artist showcase. Opposed to like us doing the musicals or things like that. I've kind of become the person people go to for conferences, workshops, and showcases like such as what you saw last night. So as you witnessed on last night, and then earlier this year, I hosted my own when I did like my own birthday gathering. And so I'm really big into those because I think it's more of an intimate setting where people can really push their gift, could push their ministry, and really showcase what they have to offer. You don't have to feel confined to uh, a certain group of people. You really can really exercise your gift and do what you called to do, and really work it in front of what they say a non-biased crowd, if you will.
Yes, because last night's crowd was mixed, right? And
Woo!
so
Was it?
yeah, it was a
It
mixed crowd.
was. It was a mixed crowd. It was amazing though. It was a
Yeah.
very mixed crowd. Very mixed crowd.
Yes. And what I loved about last night was because of the mixed crowd, it was an unconventional place to win souls.
Oh yes, yes, and I think the mission or the intent of this whole gathering last night was very successful because we had people from all walks of life. Of course, saved, non-saved, church, non-church, sanctified. What is sanctification? uh, and I mean, it was in different lifestyles. They were in there, but it was a great gathering for people to get to see. We're all the same.
Mhm.
We are God's creation, and we have an opportunity. Those that are believers, we had an opportunity to present Jesus to them. So
Yeah.
and that was dope, and a lot of people left really inspired. So they may not say yes to the Lord then, but definitely a seed was planted last
Right. I definitely agree with that. So let's get to this music though, right? So you have been writing music for a very long time, guys. Or I'm saying guys, but no, he's been writing music for an extremely long time. And you just re-released an album, but it's actually, I wouldn't say a re-release. It's a newer version of old classics, I would say. And I would say classics that, listen, y'all, this is gonna be a little bit nostalgic for me because some of the songs on this album, like I've known since I was a teenager because he wrote them when we were in high school. Okay, that's
night.
how some of these songs are 30 years old. Literally, right? But they're new to you all. They're new to you all. And but there's just something about it. So tell us first of all, just when you wrote your first song, like what that was like, what you were going through, what was going on in your life at that time.
Um, like I started writing, like of course I know I was like writing middle school and high school, even trying to write some songs when I was at elementary school, just doodling. And writing my very first song, um, actually you were singing with me because when I wrote it, we tried it out at Midnight Musical somewhere, and it went over real well, which is River. That was my very first gospel song that I've written. Um, I felt I felt accomplished. I was nervous. I was uncertain because I didn't know how well it would be received because I know it didn't sound like anything that we were singing in our church network, or our church community. It was something different, and I was really nervous. I was really, really, really nervous because I was like, felt like the underdog at the time, and at a point people were like, "Did you really write that song? It sounded a little advanced. Did you write that?" And I'm like, "Wow." But could have been an insult, but I took it as a compliment that they thought enough of it that it was something that being surprised that God gave me something to birth out like that. So it was unnerving in the beginning. But I felt accomplished. I did feel accomplished.
Okay. So so you had a little fear there.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get over that? Like what was the turning point for you?
So my turning point, I grew up in the church where our pastor he was regal. He was very graceful. He was anointed. He was a man of wisdom. And so he had all the goods, but he was never flamboyant about his goods. And so it's kind of hard sometimes to connect with people who have all those elements. And I tell everybody, shouts out to Greater Holy Temple Church of God in Christ in South Bend, where the late Superintendent Leroy Sutton was my pastor. He was just a great man who taught us to be confident in what God has given, to always believe God for what you pray for. You said you want to go grow in God, you want to go higher in God, you want a deeper relationship, you want a greater anointing. And when God does it, don't question what He's giving you. So He always had instilled in us to be humble with the blessings, with the deposits that God has put in you. And so growing up, forgive me, my voice, is out there. Um, just growing up, I had that type of teaching from him. And then my mother, she was just a bold person. just taught us to be fearless, never to be afraid of even addressing your fears. So I was always put in that position where I was forced to face whatever was going to bring anxiety to me. So I learned to be bold through that.
Okay. All right. So then let's skip over to now you're this accomplished artist. You've been to the Dove Awards. You have, you've gotten awards, right? So what was it like transitioning from, I would say, like a local artist to now you are literally an international artist. Like seriously, you've been to Africa, you've been like you've been all over the world.
Yeah.
So what is that like? What is that transition like?
At first, because the way I was trained. Now, let's be real. Let's deal with some of that fear piece. That a part of me, and we're just gonna be raw tonight. A part of me, I had this confidence, I had this assurance, if you will, that God has put something in me, but I kind of had let the thoughts of undefined people define me and made me be fearful to announce what God was doing in me, or it made me fearful to um, share what God was doing. So a lot of stuff people didn't find out until almost years later. Like, how you know him? How'd y'all find out about him? And it was like, oh, he was here. And it was like, he was what? He was in Bahamas. He was in China. He went to London. He went to, so things like that. So um, I had a fear in me that I was scared to really announce those things. So I really, for a while, I went numb. So I really never got a chance to even address um, that. I guess you say the crossover, if you will.
Hmm.
Just cross over into that piece of who I am. I just never got a chance to really address it until here later, some years later. Um, and so how did I handle it? I was fearful because I was scared. I was scared to even be excited uh, about, everything. It was just, you got me in a vulnerable moment tonight. I was scared, but there was a drive in me to keep going. It was a driving me to to just keep pursuing even when I didn't believe in myself. He sent people for my life to keep speaking life into me, encouraging me to keep going. So that's how I was able to cross over, because I had encouraging people in my life, behind the scenes, people that you probably never had saw me talking to in public, but that were just encouraging me to keep going and doing what God had called me to do. So
I love that because you are a very humble person. I know that you have a big personality. You're funny. You can be loud and all that, but you are very humble in the respect that you don't tell everybody what's going on with you, right? Um, People don't know unless they ask. You know,
exactly.
and so because of that, I would say, how were you able to move into different circles, being that you're more reserved and more humble?
The truth of the matter was, God actually was just putting me on the mind and the lips of people. Someone, just could be driving the car playing one of my songs, and someone was like, "Have you heard this guy?" And the person would just kind of launch an investigation to figure out who I was. And next thing I know, they'll get a hold of me here on social media, or they would somehow get my number. Next thing I know, they were sending for me. So it was just like, wow. Oh, okay, okay, cool. Sure, yeah, I come. Yeah, Um, it was yeah, that's the best.
That's the best way you can say, "No worries, no
That's
worries."
the best I can say. Yeah.
It's all good because guess what, y'all? I've been knowing this man for, I told you, forever, right? And, you know, I was watching TV one day, and this was years ago. Watching TV one day, and a commercial comes on. And he know where I'm going. I
Yes.
didn't know about this, okay? Didn't know about it. But a commercial comes on, and I'm like, wait a second. Is that Stephen? But I didn't say Stephen. I said, is that Steve? So let's talk about that a little bit because I mean that is a commercial is on display for the entire world to see.
Yes,
And that's a different type of
right.
notoriety, right? So how did that come about?
So what ended up happening, like I left our hometown like a thief in the night, and I, moved my family to another state in the Midwest, and I ended up linking up with another artist and his choir, and I just started writing for them and started producing for them. So we ended up singing for these promoters, and I, that's the best of I can remember the story. And next thing I know, we were asked to do a commercial, and then they were like, "This is who you're going to be working with," and I was like, "What?" And they was like, "This is who you're going to be working with." So next thing I know, I'm in the studio with the producers for Eminem, and I'm in there like working the opera vocals for the commercial, producing the vocals, and I'm sitting there with with this "Lose Yourself" track, and it's like putting all this opera notes and making these folks sing up in the rap, in the rafters, and they were like, "It's going to be a commercial. Get ready." Get another phone call. "Oh, you guys going to be on the Super Bowl?" I'm like, "We're going to be on the Super Bowl," and we couldn't tell nobody. And then that night when it hit, it was so surreal. Like we all get sitting there like with goosebumps, we going crazy. And then my phone just blah, 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 blah. I mean, my phone was blowing up. And everybody else that was in the room, our phones just kept blowing up that night. And then next thing I know, people on social media like, "I know I didn't see who I thought I just saw. And is that who I thought it was?" And it was like, "Where did he disappear to?" And he pops up like this. So I had just really kind of come off the road from doing some acting. I was like in Jesus Christ Superstar for a little bit and did some other plays and started singing background for some nationally well-known artists, gospel and R&B. They were just like coming through the city, and I was getting linked on to do background for them, and getting connected, in the movies, and so when that happened, it was just like it changed the whole uh, level of, I guess, success of what I had been doing since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
That was probably one of my greatest accomplishments, to produce a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was one of those moments I would say for me is like, "Ooh, I know that guy."
Yeah, it was surreal. It was very surreal.
I
Very
bet, I bet. So let's get back to the music. Now, you recently had a concert here in Texas. You brought down some of the musicians from Michigan and well, from the Midwest, right? Because that's
Yes,
where
Midwest. Brought the Midwest. We brought the Midwest to Texas.
yes, you brought the Midwest to Texas, which was a treat, okay? But um there was a song though that we did that night, and it was a song, I believe, after your mother passed.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I want to talk about that and talk about just where you were, like how vulnerable you were when you wrote that, and then like what you felt like to even release that song or even like, record that song.
Um, so let's go back. So when that song came about, low key, I had a meltdown, and I was kind of already like facing divorce, and I was just like, "Hey, listen, just go on and take the kids, go ahead, whatever," because I just couldn't handle the process going through a divorce and losing my mother at the same time. It wasn't that I was trying to backslide. I just didn't want to deal with church anymore. I was just frustrated with life. Everything was just wrong. Just be honest, everything was wrong. And this particular day, I was just praying, I would just ask God, like, Lord, just renew my mind, because I really felt like I was just gonna snap. I was gonna lose it. And I just didn't want to live unhealthy like that. And the Lord just began to deal with me about my trust, about my will, about my heart, and reminded me of how many times I've told people to trust Him, and how many times I told people that He's a God of rest, He's the God of peace. How many times I've sung that, how many times I prayed and spoke words of wisdom and words of life to people. Um, and here I am looking like He's not who I said He is.
Ooh, yeah.
And so He was like, if you trust me with your life, He said, just rest in me. He's like, I'm going to, I'm going to, take you through this. I'm going to navigate this whole thing. I got it mapped out. And in Jeremiah 29:11, people use it all the time. But the thing is like, I think I was frustrating God. He was like, you just calm that down. I know what I'm doing. I know the thoughts. I got you. I know my thoughts. And so your ways, my ways isn't His ways. I get it. Like, I know my thoughts towards you, and you're not going to die like this. And so actually, I just wrote the chorus, take rest in me, I'll give you rest, I'll be everything. Joy and peace, those are things He was reminding me of. And I went to a rehearsal, taught the song to the group, and we it turned into a shut-in that night. The Lord just moved, and like everybody was crying. God was just ministering to us that night. People were getting like healed in the rehearsal. And so that's all I had. It was just like a chant. Take rest in me, I'll give you rest, a chant. And I got to the recording, and the musician was just flowing with me while I'm kind of telling the story about trying to heal, because I hadn't healed. I was trying to heal still, from my mother's passing away. And so next thing I know, I just started singing the conversation, and then that's when the song took a turn. And the Lord moved that night, and it was just a big setup for God to do what He had promised He was going to do in my life. He told me He was going to change my life, even with that song. And it wasn't a song for commercial. It wasn't a song for people to feel bad for me. It wasn't a song for people to um, get on an emotional tiff. It was just a song. It was just a testament of what God promised us as His believers, those who trust Him, those who believe in Him, those who stand on His word, those who have His power resting in them. It was just a reminder, and not knowing, we like almost over, almost 20 years later, that song was still touching people, and still getting text messages and like, oh, I just found this song. People hitting me. A friend of mine, one of the other singers, started sending me TikTok clips. People were praise dancing to it at like homegoing, and people were just they had did a virtual obituary, and I'm sitting there like, are you serious?
Wow.
And so I don't want to cry, but it messed me up so bad that that God took a crushing moment in my life to bless other people. And so that's how Rest in Me came about. It was just a song of talking about God's goodness and His promises to me, in spite of the lack of faith that I had at the time. And it just began to bless other people. And to this day, I still get people who will post all the lyrics on their social media wall and will reach out to me about it. So it's it's been a beautiful experience, and that song has blessed me to travel the world.
Wow. It's a beautiful song. The song is called Rest in Me. And while you're talking, of course, I want to just sing it, but it's not mine to sing, y'all. It's not mine to sing. If let's just say my hour. Anyway. Um, but no, it is a very beautiful song. I believe the chorus is rest in me, I'll give you rest. I'll give you rest. I mean, it's beautiful. So we're in a time of year where people are struggling because they're losing people, right? People are losing their loved ones around this time of year. What would you say to someone who has either lost someone around this time of year or recently has lost someone?
Being someone that has just lost a sibling here, um, just within 45 days, it has been. I can say personally, it has taken stress levels up a little bit. However, to those who are dealing in the same season, just to encourage them, that um, it's a loss. It's a loss. It's a loss here on earth. But God has given us. He has given us strength. He'll give you strength to endure this time, this season. Even if you don't feel like you're at 100, He'll give you what it takes to maintain
Mhm.
until total deliverance come, or total healing come, until there's some peace or some resolution within your spirit about the loss of a loved one. He is the God of comfort.
Yes.
He promised in His Word. He said, "I'll never leave you nor forsake you." He said, "Lo, I'm with you even till the end of the time, even till the end of time." And so, a lot of people who wrestle with that, trust me, it's easier to trust God's will, to trust His process. Like the old saying said, hold on to God's unchanging hand, because death can, like the songwriter says, time is filled with swift transitions, and so sometimes people, they're here and they're gone, just like that. So, but God's hand is unfailing. He will comfort you. He will heal you. But you have to make a conscious decision to really let God in and be everything that you need Him to, not
Yeah.
just what you want Him to be, just for your moments, but let God be everything you need Him to be. And He'll be that. But we have to really allow God to be that if we really trust Him.
Yes. Yes. I love that. You briefly mentioned divorce. So,
Mhm.
and I know that that's a different type of pain. Because marriage is two people becoming one,
Yes.
and no one that I know of goes into a marriage um, with the thought that they're going to separate or
No.
or get divorced, right? And so I am divorced, right? So I understand what it's like to be one, and then tearing myself apart, right, from this person. And so your music is taking off, you're moving around, right? You're traveling, you have your sons, because you do have two sons, who also sing, by the way, which, I mean, listen, I can't even talk about them right now, but but listen, but no, but you have a family,
Yeah.
and that you are providing for, that is now separating while at the height or ascension of your career. What is that like?
The enemy, he played on that pretty well. It was the whole public success, private failure thing,
Okay.
and it was just feeling like I did feel like, I was like, man, God, I let you down. Um, you know, the enemy, and some, let's just be real. Some people who just didn't have good sense were using words to break your spirit, to make you feel that you were unfit to continue to do ministry because um, you had an unsuccessful marriage. Um, it was hurtful. It could have slowed me down, but I knew I had to um, stay the course. I knew God had called me to ministry. And ministry, I mean, ministry was home as well. I know God had called me to ministry, and I had to make a conscious decision. Again, do I die here? Because people, whether people admit it or not, divorce is death. So, and I tell people, I'll never forget the day that it was finalized. Everything was just great. Everything was just great. Just cried, great. Everything was great. But it did mess with me mentally, because I did start thinking maybe I was unfit to do ministry, and I kept trying to go, and then for a little bit I started slowing down, because I was trying to just figure things out. What do I need to do next? God, how do I bounce back for this? But God had to help me understand that if I'm going to bounce back, not just to be looking like I can bounce back for optics reason. So people can just say, hey, look, blah, 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 blah. It was more to say, hey, um, God will strengthen you in spite of. God will give you what it takes in spite of to keep going. And I had to make that conscious decision to keep serving him because that was a place in my life where, when you praying for something and it seems like your prayer is not working, you get to questioning your faith, you get to questioning if you really had power in your prayer. And so I had to make a conscious decision to stay with God in spite of all of that. It was a lot. It was overwhelming. It was very discouraging. It was a breaking point. It was embarrassing. However, God's been the lifter of my head in spite of it. And
Nice.
I
Yeah,
take solace. I take solace in who He is.
that's good. So, was any music birthed out of that, or did music help you during that time?
You know what? Music did help me. However, I had to find myself in the Word. I had to
Mhm.
really wrap myself in the Word. Of course, He'll give you songs that are scripture based. But I would just wake up every morning and all I could just, before I could let my feet hit the floor, I could just say, "In the peace of God."
Mm,
I would just
mhm,
stop. I wouldn't deal with the being anxious. I wouldn't deal with surpass all understanding. I would just start with "and the peace of God" because I knew it was a new day, new mercy that I had to get up and keep going. And I knew it. I couldn't make it if I didn't have God's peace. So I just had to get up and say, "and the peace of God." And from that, God would just birth moments, prophetic moments out of me, where I would be up leading worship and things would take place. Altar calls. He would give me songs for altar call, more and more and more, to be a blessing to other people. Nothing that I could really think I could record, but it was just things, songs that he was birthing to heal me and to heal other people who were dealing with breakdowns, and struggling pieces of their life, or who are surviving on broken pieces, or who are struggling, um, maybe even straddling the fence. But he was birthing things out of me, words and songs out of me then. Um, but not so much I was writing. He was giving me songs to write, just encouraging me to keep going.
mhm. That's nice. That's nice. So, let's talk about this new project that you have, Back
Yes.
Love. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, no, no. I'm excited. I'm excited about this project. I really am.
Good, good. Okay, so tell us about it. What's going on? What are you doing? Where are you gonna be at? Well, first of all, let's talk about the project itself. Like what type of songs, what type of music is on this? Is it different from what you've had in the past, what you've written in the past? Like, is it a progression of a story? Like, tell us all about it.
It's really it is a progression of a story. It's really just kind of dealing with the season I'm in. I've always prayed and asked God, like, give me songs that are instant. Not just give me a song that's just gonna move a crowd, not just gonna songs that sound good rhyming or anything. But like you said, a few of these songs that's on this project, I've said on these songs for over 20 years, 30 years. And I've just recorded other songs, written for other people, did other things. And but these particular songs on this project, like the opening song, uh, "Breathe on Me,"
Mhm.
that was a hymn. I started singing when I was like 15 years old. I was one of those people who carried around the red Yes Lord book. So and I still got it. I still got it on my shelf. And I would just like try to learn hymns. And so I was around a lot of seasoned saints just growing up. Just hearing them sing songs that were in those hymn books were a blessing to me. Those songs were meat,
Mhm.
to me. So um, with my own creativity at 15, 16 years old, I got up and sung it at a musical, and there was another group that was there, a group that are legends in our hometown. They were there singing that night, and um, one of them, the brother, was playing the organ, and he was just trying to follow me. And then he just kind of pulled me to the side of the service, and he said, "You keep that song in your back pocket. That song gonna be good." I never played it like that. I never heard it like that. He said, "But I like it." and he just encouraged me to keep going. You know, he's just one of the gospel OGs in our city, and I sat on that song for all those years, and then I felt it was fitting for this project to talk about God's providence, God's protection, and God's again God's intentions for me. So I really tapped into really what God's will was for my life, and that I started making this decision that I really wanted God's will for my life more now than ever before.
That's nice. That's nice. Now you know that I have an affinity for "Breathe on Me." Like, that is my song, y'all. Like, I'm telling you, it takes me in every single time. And I've also picked chosen that song, while I've done my stories and stuff for my book.
Yeah,
But yeah, I absolutely love that song. Morris in the comments said The Remedy. Listen, Morris, you don't even understand, sir. First of all, that's like the song, okay?
that's
I
my
love
first gospel
the
song.
virgin.
Yeah,
Doo, doo. Anyway, yes. So that's the matter of fact, that's the song that you were talking about
yeah,
that you wrote, your very first song that you wrote, and you debuted, I should say. And I was singing with you at that time.
yeah.
What were we called?
Perfected praise ensemble.
Perfected Praise
PPE.
Ensemble, yeah. Bunch of
Yes.
kids, y'all, a bunch of kids just trying to, sing for the Lord. And you know what? Again, this is not about me, but it is about me. Steve here. You see, y'all hear me call him Steve.
Mm.
So he used to make fun of me for my vibrato, y'all. Because I have a natural vibrato. I have a natural vibrato. And he makes fun of me. But anyway, again, not about me. So let's talk about Back to Love.
Ooh, okay. So um, I started pastoring a church called the Ear in Southfield, Michigan. The Ear stands for Empowerment, Application, and Reconciliation. And so Back to Love became our theme song. And so writing the lyrics, I was going through that ugly season of actually I was at the time I was this was official going through my final stages of uh, about to become single, whatever. And um, dealing with my father, helping take care of my father at the time, who was gravely ill. Um, I was just at my wit's end with everything. Like I was back at this, I was like, it's these cycles. These cycles, they were something else. And God just really I was just talking to God about where my heart was. I was like, God, I'm burnt out. I don't feel like I don't have anything to offer anyone anymore. And God reminds me again, you're getting to this place, but what have you said to other people? So this song, Back to Love, it was just I had to come from that place called Wits End and get back to this place where I was in love with going back to my first love, going back to God. And so the song Get Back to Love just deals with the matters of the heart, being shattered, being broken, being tattered, being bothered. And so people when they heard the lyrics, it's like, it would sound like you wrote a slow song. How did you come up with an upbeat song like this? And that song just said with me. It was a song for people that were broken that I started pastoring, that I started ministering to, because they a lot of them didn't know what love was. They had no real experiences. Some say they were, some were married and just like, I really don't know what love is. I've been in church a long time. I still never got that love thing right. I struggle with forgiving people. I don't, so they wrestling with trying to have salvation and having love in their heart. They're not understanding that, you know, um, you know, we can't do much if we don't have love in our heart. We can't minister to anybody. And his word declares, how will they know you my disciples? Just by the way you even love one another. So we're walking around here, shouting we're believers. Oh, we love God, and we ain't got no love in our heart. We're full of hate and we're full of division. We're full of bitterness, frustration, and we had no one to really hold us accountable for trying to align our lives with the Word of God. So that's where that song comes from. It comes from just encouraging people to get back to what they know is right, or even get to learn what love is. Um, to fall in love with God all over again. How can I love God who I never seen, but I hate April, who I see every day? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make
Right.
sense. You're supposed to be my sister. So
Right. Exactly right. So, where can they find your music?
every digital outlet, um, it's available. Hold on. Bam. Holla at your boy. The people I was surprised. People are still purchasing hard copies. It was surprising. I mean, you was at the concert, people just like, I want a hard copy, but you can go, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, everywhere, where music is sold digitally, and you can purchase, In Session Part Two, Providence. So,
Awesome, awesome. Now, my other favorite song is Covenant,
oh yeah,
but it has a gazillion words, y'all.
all scripture. It's the word of God.
It is all scripture, but it's like a gazillion words,
Yeah.
okay? But no, y'all go, like, seriously, and go to Spotify, go to Apple Music, go to all these digital outlets and get download the records. I say records. I
I
don't
still say
know.
record too. You
Download the
tell the
records.
age.
Right, exactly. Let's see here. Somebody said, "Woohoo, I'm going to check out your music." Okay, that is awesome. And then Morris, of course, I got bootlegs on sale at the Quickie Mart.
Mark Morris, you will be on four flats. All right. God bless.
Don't do it, Morris. Don't do it. Listen.
Triple A will be your portion.
Okay. Y'all are see, listen. No, but this has been phenomenal. Do y'all have any questions, for our man Steph here? Y'all can ask your questions. I'm gonna give y'all a few minutes to type some questions out for him. But this has been an amazing live. I interrupted your nap because usually you're asleep right now. So I appreciate you,
This
you
is
know,
bedtime. Amen.
for allowing me to cut into your sleep.
It's all good. It's all good.
Let's see here. Okay, so Morris, you said, can we talk about how he felt when he kicked me off the drums when I was little? Oh
I
wow.
was waiting for that when I saw him
Wow.
on. Okay.
Wow.
Picture it. Sicily, 19. No. So, okay. A lot of people don't know I used to be a drummer. So before I became a choir director and a worship leader, I was um I was a drummer, and so Morris, mother, amazing mother loves, amazing woman of God. She used to come and play for our monthly first Sunday musical at GHT, and they would have services. We have services, and sometimes their whole family would come, and they would just church with us at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on first Sundays. And so there were times, or there would be an anniversary service or something, and Morris would get on the drums, and Morris tempo, he was good, but so Morris would be on the drums playing, and he would look over and see me coming around down and out, and the whole time he already know, like, he about to kick me off the drums, and so he just keep playing and just kept looking at me, and I would, a couple of times I had to, you know switch with Morris. I didn't kick him off the drums, I switched with him. So, but to this day, he's 30 years later, he's still not healed of 30, almost 40 years later, he's not healed.
Church hurt or drummer hurt?
Listen,
Your drummer hurt,
listen,
Morris.
it's the brokenness, man of God. But look at him now. He's a premier musician, organ player. Look at him. So
Yes, he is. Yes. And I believe your daughter, Morris, is also a phenomenal organ player. I try to follow y'all sometimes. Look.
that's what's up.
Awesome. Okay, so we do have another question. How do you know if you're a worship leader, and how do you know if your kids are worship leaders?
Well, I'll tell you this. How do you know if you're a worship leader? Well, I think it's more of a thing of um, are we certain that God called us to do that? See, like I have a squad that I train, and I've trained them all to kind of just be like Johnny on the spot. If somebody needs you at the last minute, and you can step in and help, or you can at least carry the service. Sometimes all of us, we're not always called to be worship leaders. We could be effective in our gift or in a talent, but that doesn't mean we have the grace to lead or be over a team, like, to be a worship or music pastor, if that makes sense. But how do you know? Kind of God kind of just opens up that way for you. He'll really open up that way. You won't have to announce you're a worship leader. You won't have to push your way through. You don't have to politic for that. God will really position you in that place. And if and if you're really called to it, He'll give you the grace to walk in it. Even with my children, one of my sons for sure, they're both musicians. Both of my sons are drummers, and one plays the keys a little bit. Um, One, he said this: I'm not a worship leader, but you need a solid tenor. He got you. He can play drums, sing tenor. The other one, he is a natural born worship leader. He has the goods to lead worship. And the thing is, it's just right now he's just in his developing stage. He's growing and maturing into it. And the thing is, it's all about at this point for him hearing what God called him to do, hearing God and doing what God has called him to do in this season. For me, I didn't push my children to doing music. I didn't. I was like, you don't have to do the family business because their mother's, as we all know, she's a phenomenal soprano, shake the chandeliers. So that's not a thing of questioning was music in them, but were they called to do it? He has the grace to lead worship. God has graced him to lead worship. So those are things you just have to pray about, and He'll create the avenue. He'll open up the door. You won't have to. You won't have to work hard to walk into that. Not at all.
Yes, and to add to that, there's a scripture that says that your gift will make room for you, and I'm a testament to that. Like pretty much everywhere I have gone, I haven't had to announce that I sing. It just happens to I happen to find myself in situations
Right.
where a singer is needed, or the gift that God has given or placed inside of me is needed. So yeah, to Stefan's point, the opportunities will avail themselves.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
We have one more question. So can you have the gift of a worship leader and a talent of a worship leader?
Yes.
You can't, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying about the grace. A lot of us are gifted to do it, but we
Mhm.
don't have the grace to be one.
Right.
We could be great lead singers, but not called to be a worship leader. And we could be great artists, but not a worship leader. Or we could be a great worship leader and not an artist. So
Right.
yeah.
So the follow-up question is, what's the difference? So the difference would be like a person that can sing really well, they may not be able to actually lead a group of people. Like they don't have that leadership or that pastoral uh,
Quality.
grace on their life, right? So they can sing, but that doesn't mean you put them in a position of leadership because they're not great leaders, right? Um, I hope that answers your question.
And that's not and people need to understand because it's a sensitive topic because we've been in this for a while. It's not that you're not it's not it's a bad thing. Sometimes you're graced to do other things. That's just a gift and talent that you have to operate in. It's not a negative that just because you're not called to that doesn't mean that you don't have ministry in you. You're not worth anything. God just has graced you to do other things. And I tell people all the time, just because this is what I'm able to do does not mean I have the grace to do it. I'm not necessarily called to certain things. I can usher. I'm a great usher. I listen. People walk in church, and I'll usher them to a seat, and I'll have them laughing the whole time. That's why I can't be a good usher because I cut up too bad. So people be leaving. I'm like, thank you for coming. Come back and occupy that seat. I don't care what church you go to. I'm that person. So, but
Yes.
I mean, I know how to usher. Never been an usher. Never been on an usher board. But I know how to usher. But that's not what I'm called to do. There's people because I mean my patience is a little different. Now that was the sweet version of me. So so you got other people who are just they're gonna smile and say, no, you sit here. I don't want to sit here. Okay, well let's sit over there. I'll be like, look, so I don't have that grace. That's just what it is.
No, I totally get it. I
Buy
totally
you a seat, please.
yes, like now, like right here.
Right. My work should be hindered. Um, but but yeah, so
No,
it's not always a bad thing.
that's great. So, if there's no more questions, we are going to start wrapping this up. Listen, this
Yes.
was great. And again, I do thank you for letting me interrupt your nap. I know you be up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, like no joke. 3? Oh, wow.
Three.
Okay,
Yes,
so you're
ma'am.
up at 3 o'clock in the morning. My goodness. See, you got to be grace to do that.
Right. Right. So that's see that's all that's prayer time. That's
Yeah,
cardio time. That's go punch the clock time. Um, you know, God has really just blessed me to God has really blessed the ministry. He really has.
he
So
has.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad. I'm grateful to have known you or to know you rather, and just to see your progression, right? Because again, I've kind of been there since the beginning. And so I see where you are now. So glad that you decided to make DFW your home because you are in Dallas, Fort Worth,
Yes.
and so I know you lead worship at one of the churches here in the area. And so we're grateful, to have you. I know they're grateful to have you. But again, y'all, his music is online at Stephen Anderson Day. What is the name of the new project?
The new project is called In Session Part Two, Providence. It's a feel good album. It's really a feel good album, but it just you'll get the message once you hear it all together collectively. Um, but you can get it just if you just pull up Stephen Anderson Providence, it'll all come up. So
It'll all come up. Yes, yes. So go get his stuff, y'all. We are gonna sign out again. Thank you, Stephen. Fearless
it's
Music.
just
This was great. And we'll talk to y'all later.
bless
Bye.
you.